17. Black actresses who had gay children. What if behind Hollywood's brightest smiles hid its deepest secrets? Imagine the icons who shaped history. Women of power, elegance and resilience suddenly facing the truth. No fame could silence their own children living boldly in love that defied convention. From golden Oscars to shattered expectations, these stories unveil the untold side of Black excellence. The cameras never captured. Prepare to see legacy, identity, and motherhood collide in ways you never imagined. Stay till the end. Hit subscribe and join Legends of Black Excellence, where every truth deserves its spotlight. Diahann Carroll, Suzanne K. Diahann Carroll, born in 1935 in the Bronx, New York, was a groundbreaking actress whose elegance redefined the image of Black women in Hollywood. She became the first African-American woman to lead a television series with Julia in 1968, breaking barriers in an industry ruled by stereotypes. Yet behind the applause and the glamour, Carroll's private life carried a quiet storm, one that echoed through generations. Her daughter Suzanne K., born in 1959, followed her mother's artistic footsteps as a journalist, producer, and screenwriter. To the world, their story was one of beauty, intellect, and legacy. But beneath that polished surface, unspoken truths simmered, waiting to be understood. As Carroll's fame reached its height, whispers followed her quiet suggestions of same-sex affection during her early Broadway years. While never confirmed, such rumors were rare and perilous for a Black woman in mid-20th century America. Suzanne grew up watching her mother master the art of silence, learning that privacy was not protection, but survival. When Suzanne's own marriage to filmmaker Mark Bamford ended in 2016, she stepped back from the spotlight. Friends recalled her choosing solitude, a life far from cameras and headlines. In 2003, she was reportedly seen walking through Central Park hand in hand with a female novelist, a small moment that reignited speculation about her sexuality, though she never addressed it publicly. For Carroll, reputation was sacred. She was a symbol of refinement, grace, and trailblazing dignity in an industry that often offered none of those to Black women. That is why, according to accounts from those close to the family, she struggled with the idea that her daughter might live a truth the public would misread. At a Beverly Hills gala in 2001, a server claimed to overhear her say, "I will not let your private life ruin my legacy." True or not, the story reflected a generational conflict between a mother who built her name through control and a daughter yearning to live without boundaries. When Diahann Carroll passed away in 2019 at the age of 84, Hollywood remembered her as a legend. Yet for Suzanne K., her mother's passing was also a release, a quiet permission to breathe beyond the shadow of legacy. Whether the rumors about her love life were true or not, one truth stands firm: both women in their own ways fought to define themselves in a world that demanded silence from women like them. Their story is not one of scandal, but of inheritance. The inheritance of strength, secrecy, and the unspoken struggle between legacy and identity. Monique Shalon Jackson. Academy Award-winning actress and comedian Monique, born Monique Angela Hicks in Baltimore, has always been known for her unapologetic honesty and emotional depth. Rising to fame through The Parkers, and later stunning the world with her Oscar-winning performance in Precious 2009, she projected an image of fierce independence and strength. Yet behind the spotlight, her greatest test came not on stage, but in the quiet vulnerability of motherhood. Her eldest son, Shalon Jackson, born in 1990, grew up surrounded by cameras and celebrity circles. As he matured, the public began to notice his reserved nature and the absence of any public relationships, sparking whispers about his private life. In June 2016, tabloids began reporting sightings of Shalon in an Atlanta nightclub where he was allegedly seen holding hands and sharing a brief, intimate moment with another man. The story spread quickly, feeding the public's endless appetite for scandal. Monique, who had spent years battling Hollywood's expectations and industry blacklisting, chose silence. A silence not of shame, but of protection. She refused to turn her son's private life into entertainment. For months, media outlets speculated, but no confirmation ever came from the family. Then, during a 2017 stand-up performance in New York, Monique paused mid-laughter. Her tone softened. Her eyes glistened as she said, "No matter who my children love, my love for them doesn't change." That one sentence silenced the crowd. It wasn't a public statement or a headline, just a mother's truth. For many, it was the moment she quietly acknowledged acceptance, turning gossip into a message of compassion. In a world where fame often feeds on pain, Monique's grace stood out. She didn't deny, defend, or dramatize. She simply loved. Her story and Shalon's reflect the silent evolution of a Hollywood mother who once fought for artistic respect and later learned to fight for something even more precious, her child's right to exist freely. Beneath the glare of stage lights, her quiet courage spoke louder than any press release ever could. Nell Carter, Tracy Carter. In the 1980s, Nell Carter was one of America's brightest stars, a powerhouse voice, and the heart of the beloved sitcom, Gimme a Break. Her laughter lit up millions of living rooms, but away from the cameras, Carter's life was marked by battles few ever saw. Born in 1948 in Birmingham, Alabama, she rose from gospel choirs to Broadway glory, winning a Tony Award for Ain't Misbehavin' before conquering television. Yet the same woman who brought joy to audiences spent her private years guarding a secret far more complex than any script she ever performed. That secret was her adopted child, Tracy Carter. Nell adopted Tracy in the early 1970s and poured all her energy into raising her while juggling the pressures of fame and personal hardship. As Tracy grew up, her identity began to evolve in ways that challenged the world's narrow understanding of gender and love. By her late teens, Tracy identified as transgender, a truth that at the time the entertainment world had little room to understand. In 1998, reports surfaced that Tracy had performed under the stage name Miss T at a drag show in San Francisco, wearing a red sequined gown and lip-syncing to one of her mother's songs. The audience cheered, but the news quickly reached tabloids threatening to turn Tracy's expression into sensational gossip. To shield her daughter, Nell reportedly intervened, offering money to prevent photos from being published. It was not an act of denial, but of fierce protection in an era when trans visibility often invited cruelty. Behind closed doors, Nell carried the double weight of fame and motherhood, knowing that her daughter's truth, if exposed, could invite the same judgment she had fought her whole life to overcome. When Nell Carter passed away in 2003 at just 54 years old, the truth she had tried to protect slowly came to light. Tracy's life was short and troubled, ending years later in quiet obscurity. But their story endures as a portrait of love defined by sacrifice, a mother who fought the world not to hide her child, but to give her the peace that fame would never allow. In Nell's final legacy, her laughter remains immortal, but so too does the tenderness of a mother's desperate act to protect the one she loved most. Diana Ross. Tracee Ellis Ross. Few names in music command the reverence of Diana Ross, the legendary lead singer of the Supremes and one of Motown's brightest lights. Born in Detroit in 1944, Diana embodied glamour, discipline, and control qualities that helped her navigate a segregated industry and emerge as a symbol of grace and success for Black women worldwide. But like many icons, her legacy extends beyond music. It lives on in her children, especially her daughter, Tracee Ellis Ross, whose quiet independence and refusal to conform have made her one of Hollywood's most enigmatic figures. Tracee, born in 1972, grew up in the shadow of superstardom. Yet she carved her own path with intellect, humor, and integrity, earning critical acclaim for her role as Dr. Rainbow Johnson in Blackish 2014 to 2022. In 2017, she won a Golden Globe, becoming the first Black woman in over 30 years to do so for Best Actress in a TV comedy. Still, fans and the media seemed more fascinated by her personal life than her achievements. At 50, she remains unmarried and child-free. a choice she has spoken about candidly, challenging expectations placed on women, especially daughters of icons. Speculation about Tracy's sexuality has circulated for years. From wearing bold menswear suits to attending red carpets solo, she's been labeled mysterious, even secretive. In a 2015 New York Times interview, she famously said, "I was taught to dream of my wedding, not of my life. But I am the chooser." That single line resonated across social media, embraced by queer and feminist communities alike as a declaration of autonomy. Whether she is gay, bisexual, or simply uninterested in public labeling, Tracy's refusal to explain herself is a statement in itself, an act of quiet rebellion against a culture that demands women define their worth through others. For Diana Ross, a woman who spent her life under the microscope of fame, her daughter's restraint mirrors a different kind of strength. While Diana laid her soul bare through song, Tracy has mastered the art of privacy as power. Together, they represent two generations of Black women rewriting the rules, one through melody and magnificence, the other through silence and self-possession. In the world's endless curiosity about who Tracy loves, perhaps the real story lies not in who she chooses, but in her unwavering choice to belong entirely to herself. Cicely Tyson, Joan Tyson. Cicely Tyson, born in Harlem in 1924 to Caribbean immigrants, was more than an actress. She was a revolution in motion. Her performances in Sounder, 1972, the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, 1974, and Roots, 1977, redefined how Black women were portrayed on screen, dignified, complex, and unbreakable. Off camera, she carried herself with the same grace, yet behind that poise lived a sorrow few ever knew the story of her only daughter, Joan Tyson, who lived largely outside the public eye and whose existence became one of Hollywood's most poignant mysteries. Joan was born in 1943, long before Cicely's fame. From early on, Cicely sent her to boarding school, hoping to provide stability while she pursued her acting career. But that distance would shape a lifetime of silence between them. Reports surfaced in the late 1970s that Joan was living in Greenwich Village, then the beating heart of New York's LGBTQ+ community. One evening in 1978, she was reportedly seen dancing hand-in-hand with a Broadway performer in a small, smoke-filled bar, a simple act of joy that sparked quiet gossip Cicely Tyson's daughter might be in a same-sex relationship. The following years deepened the rift. When Cicely married jazz legend Miles Davis in 1981, the union was celebrated as glamorous and golden, yet rumors spread that Joan had accused her mother of hypocrisy, fighting for the dignity of others while denying her own child's truth. After that, Joan disappeared from public life completely. No interviews, no photographs, no acknowledgments. She became, in essence, a shadow, living just beyond her mother's radiant spotlight. When Cicely Tyson released her memoir Just As I Am in 2021, readers searched for mention of her daughter. There was only one, a quiet line dedicating the book to my beloved daughter Joan. No explanation, no elaboration, just a name standing as both presence and absence. It was a final act of restraint from a woman who had spent her entire life choosing what to reveal and what to protect. Cicely Tyson passed away days after the memoir's release, leaving behind a legacy of courage and artistry, but also an unhealed silence between mother and daughter. Their story remains one of deep love, painful distance, and the high cost of guarding one's truth in a world that often refuses to understand it. Cheryl Lee Ralph, Ivy Coco Maurice. Few performers embody warmth and resilience like Cheryl Lee Ralph, the Jamaican-American actress and singer whose radiant presence has graced Broadway and television for over 4 decades. From her Tony-nominated role in Dreamgirls 1981 to her Emmy-winning performance in Abbott Elementary, Ralph has built her career on authenticity and advocacy. But beyond her dazzling career lies a story not of performance, but of motherhood. A story about love that does not falter in the face of judgment. Her daughter, Ivy Victoria Coco Maurice, born in 1995 from Ralph's marriage to French businessman Eric Maurice, inherited her mother's creativity and sense of style, forging her own path as a designer and creative director. In June 2019, during a Beverly Hills Pride afterparty at the historic Beverly Hilton, Coco made a statement that would ripple through Hollywood's social circles. Surrounded by flashing lights and music, she kissed her partner, a woman, in full view of the crowd. It was not scandalous, not even shocking. It was fearless. In a world still struggling with acceptance, Coco's open affection was an act of quiet rebellion, the kind of truth that generations before her could only hide. When the moment went public, questions naturally followed. Many expected Cheryl Lee Ralph, known for her dignified grace, to sidestep the subject. Instead, she faced it directly. Appearing on a talk show shortly after, Ralph said, "If my child wants to love openly, I will stand right behind her." With that single sentence, she transformed what could have been tabloid chatter into a moment of empowerment. It wasn't just acceptance, it was celebration. For Ralph, who has long been an advocate for equality and HIV/AIDS awareness, her response felt like the culmination of decades of compassion. Her daughter's pride became an extension of her own courage. Today, Ivy Coco continues to thrive creatively, using her platform to promote diversity and inclusivity in fashion. Together, mother and daughter represent the new face of Black womanhood in Hollywood, bold, loving, unapologetic, and free. In a landscape often defined by secrecy and scrutiny, Cheryl Lee Ralph's greatest performance is not on screen, it's in the unconditional love that shines brightest off stage. Jada Pinkett Smith, Willow Smith. Hollywood power couple Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith built their empire on openness, artistry, and reinvention. Yet no award or red carpet could prepare them for the deeply personal moment that would redefine their family in the eyes of the world. Their daughter, Willow Smith, born in 2000, had grown up under blinding fame, a child star with hit singles, a bold fashion sense, and an ever-questioning mind. But her true breakthrough didn't come from music. It came from honesty. In May 2019, during an episode of Red Table Talk, the family's raw Emmy-winning Facebook series, Willow, looked across the table at her mother and grandmother and said, "I love men and women equally." It was a revelation that sent shockwaves across social media. With calm confidence, the then 19-year-old came out as bisexual, sparking a national conversation about visibility and generational change within Black families. The public saw a young woman speaking her truth with poise. Jada saw her daughter stepping into freedom. 2 years later, in April 2021, Willow went even further, sharing that she identified as polyamorous, explaining her belief in loving more than one person honestly and ethically. "The main foundation is the freedom to create a relationship style that works for you," she said. In that moment, the Smiths, already a symbol of unconventional love, became a mirror for evolving definitions of family authenticity and acceptance. Jada, visibly emotional, embraced her daughter on camera, showing not shock or confusion, but pride and understanding. For many parents, especially within traditional or high-profile Black households, Willow's candor would have been daunting, but Jada Pinkett Smith chose empathy over image. Their exchange, viewed by millions, shattered the silence that often surrounds sexuality and identity in families of color. Today, Willow continues to use her platform to champion individuality, gender fluidity, and self-acceptance. And through her, Jada reminds the world that real love doesn't just protect it, listens, evolves, and stands proudly beside truth, no matter how brightly or boldly it shines. Gabrielle Union, Zaya Wade. Actress, author, and activist Gabrielle Union has long been admired for her strength, intelligence, and unflinching honesty. But nothing in her decades-long Hollywood career compared to the role she would one day play off-screen, that of a mother, fiercely defending her child's right to be herself. Married to NBA legend Dwyane Wade, Gabrielle became a stepmother to his children, including Zaya Wade, born in 2007. What began as a story of blended family unity soon became a groundbreaking chapter in the ongoing fight for transgender visibility and acceptance. In February 2020, at just 12 years old, Zaya told the world, "I'm transgender." With that single courageous statement, she became one of the youngest public figures in America to embrace her identity openly. The reaction was immediate and intense. The Wade family faced both overwhelming support and harsh criticism. Yet Gabrielle and Duane never wavered. Within days, Duane appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres show declaring, "We're proud parents of a child in the LGBTQ+ community, and we're proud allies as well." Gabrielle, always eloquent, amplified that message across her platforms, turning her influence into advocacy. In the years since, the family has become a beacon of hope for queer youth, especially within the Black community where discussions around gender identity are often steeped in stigma. Gabrielle has spoken candidly about learning from her daughter about unlearning societal conditioning, using the correct pronouns, and creating safe spaces at home. In interviews, she often describes Zaya as the bravest person I know, a young girl who taught her parents how to love louder and better. Now 17, Zaya Wade continues to flourish, walking in fashion shows, speaking at LGBTQ+ panels, and living authentically. Gabrielle Union stands beside her not just as a mother but as an advocate who uses her celebrity to amplify acceptance. Together, they've redefined what it means to be a modern family in the public eye. Their story isn't about controversy, it's about courage, the kind that challenges prejudice, rewrites narratives, and proves that when love leads, everything else follows. Tammy Roman, Jazz Anderson. Television star Tammy Roman, known for her bold presence on The Real World, Los Angeles, and Basketball Wives, has never been one to shy away from conflict. Her quick wit and fearless honesty made her a household name, but behind the strong personality the world saw on screen was a mother navigating one of the most personal challenges of her life, understanding and embracing her daughter's identity. Her eldest child, Jazz Anderson, born in 1996, to Tammy and former NBA player Kenny Anderson, inherited her parents' charisma and ambition, but chose her own stage music. From an early age, Jazz gravitated toward rap, using her lyrics to express the emotions of growing up under fame's shadow. By her early 20s, she was carving out a space in the hip-hop scene, earning respect for her talent and authenticity. But in 2018, whispers began circulating when she was spotted sharing a quiet moment of affection with another woman in a recording studio. What started as private speculation quickly reached the gossip blogs, igniting tension at home. Insiders claimed the revelation led to heated arguments between mother and daughter, not from rejection, but from fear. Tammy, who had spent years fighting to control her image, suddenly faced a situation where love meant letting go. The turning point came when Tammy sat down for an interview with Madame Noir. There she spoke not as a celebrity, but as a mother learning in real time. "I had to learn how to mother a queer child," she said. It was a moment of vulnerability that resonated across generations of Black parents confronting the same reality. Rather than deny or hide, Tammy chose growth, admitting that acceptance was not instant, but essential. Her honesty turned what could have been a scandal into a lesson in evolution and empathy. Today, Jazz Anderson thrives as an openly gay artist known for her lyrical integrity and confidence. She often credits her mother's journey from confusion to full acceptance as a cornerstone of her strength. Together, they embody a rare transformation in public life, from confrontation to compassion. In Tammy's case, the fiercest fight she ever faced wasn't on reality TV. It was the internal one that taught her that love, when tested, only grows stronger when it's real. Cynthia Bailey, Noelle Robinson. Supermodel and reality star, Cynthia Bailey, celebrated for her elegance and grace on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, built her public image on poise, confidence, and family values. For years, viewers saw her as the embodiment of success, a woman who balanced fame, motherhood, and self-control in front of millions. But in 2019, her carefully crafted image shifted forever. when her daughter Noelle Robinson, born in 1999, revealed her truth to the world. During a heartfelt episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Noelle sat beside her mother and spoke with quiet courage. "Mom, I'm sexually fluid." The room went still. Viewers across America paused. Cynthia, momentarily surprised, quickly gathered herself, smiled, and said, "Okay, that's cool." It was a small exchange, but one that carried enormous weight. For millions of young people struggling to come out to their parents, and for parents struggling to understand, that moment was both disarming and healing. Cynthia's instinct wasn't to question, correct, or panic. It was to listen. In the months that followed, Noelle began living her truth openly. She was later seen attending Los Angeles Fashion Week hand in hand with her girlfriend, unbothered by the flashing lights. Cynthia, who had once been known for protecting her public image at all costs, appeared alongside her daughter with a radiant smile, signaling that love mattered more than appearances. Her acceptance was quiet, but powerful. A message that authenticity is more beautiful than perfection. For Cynthia Bailey, this journey marked a profound evolution. The woman who once stood for composure learned that vulnerability could be just as graceful. And for Noelle Robinson, the experience redefined her identity not as a housewife's daughter, but as a proud, independent young woman paving her own way in the world. Together, they turned what could have been a tabloid headline into a celebration of truth, a reminder that real beauty lies not in how you're seen, but in how you choose to live. Regina King, Ian Alexander Jr. Award-winning actress Regina King has long been revered for her emotional power on screen, from If Beale Street Could Talk to Watchmen, and for her dignity as one of Hollywood's most respected figures. But her most profound role was not one written by a screenwriter. It was the role of a mother. Her only child, Ian Alexander Jr., born in 1996 from her marriage to record producer Ian Alexander Sr., was her pride and joy, the anchor behind her success, and the reason she often spoke of balance, love, and purpose. Growing up surrounded by fame, Ian carved his own creative path as a musician and DJ. To those who knew him, he was thoughtful, passionate, and deeply introspective. Yet behind the smiles seen on red carpets, Ian faced private battles that few could comprehend. In late 2021, subtle online posts hinted at emotional struggle. Some within his circle later reflected on the weight of expectations. The search for identity and quiet questions about acceptance issues often magnified for young black men navigating the complexities of sexuality and mental health in the public eye. On January 21, 2022, just days after his 26th birthday, tragedy struck when Ian took his own life. The news sent shockwaves through Hollywood, and the outpouring of grief was immense. Regina released a short, heart-wrenching statement. "Our family is devastated at the deepest level by the loss of Ian. He is such a bright light who cared so deeply about the happiness of others." Behind those words lay the heartbreak of a mother who had given everything to protect her son from a world that can be both cruel and consuming. Ian's death reignited urgent conversations about mental health, especially among young black men and queer youth groups often silenced by stigma and misunderstanding. Regina King's grief became a mirror for millions of parents, showing that love does not end where loss begins. Today, she carries his memory not as a tragedy alone, but as a call for compassion and awareness. In every quiet tribute she makes, in every tear she allows herself to shed, Regina continues the love story she began the day her son was born, one that proves a mother's heart, even when shattered, never stops beating for her child. Eartha Kitt, Kit Shapiro. The incomparable Eartha Kitt, born in 1927 in South Carolina, was a woman who defied every limitation placed upon her. A singer, actress, and activist, she embodied seduction and rebellion in equal measure, the woman who purred her way through Santa Baby and challenged the political elite with the same fearless voice. Yet behind her captivating stage persona was a mother whose relationship with her only daughter, Kit McDonald Shapiro, reflected both deep love and the inherited weight of public scrutiny. Kit Shapiro, born in 1961 to Eartha and businessman John William McDonald, grew up in a world of flashing lights and whispered conversations. She was her mother's anchor, the quiet counterbalance to Eartha's flamboyance. Over the years, Kit carved her own identity as a businesswoman and author, even managing her mother's legacy through the brand Simply Eartha. Yet her life has often been shadowed by speculation. In the 1990s, she began collaborating with a publisher known for supporting LGBTQ+ authors, prompting gossip that she, like her mother, might have a more complex understanding of love than society allowed. Those rumors deepened in 2002 when Kit was photographed at an AIDS charity event in New York, holding hands with a female author. To some, it was a moment of friendship. To others, it suggested something more intimate. The photo sparked quiet discussions about whether Eartha's outspoken independence, her refusal to conform to gender or social expectations, had also shaped her daughter's worldview. Kit Shapiro never addressed the speculation, choosing silence over denial. And that silence spoke volumes. When Eartha Kitt passed away in 2008, her daughter became the keeper of her mother's truth, both the glamorous and the hidden parts. In her memoir, Eartha Kitt, A Daughter's Love Story in Black and White, Kit Shapiro describes growing up with a mother who taught her that individuality is sacred and that love should never be measured by other people's standards. Whether the rumors about her own romantic life hold any truth or not is beside the point. What endures is the bond between mother and daughter, two women bound by courage, complexity, and the audacity to live authentically. Through Kit Shapiro, Eartha's spirit continues to whisper the same message she gave the world decades ago. Never apologize for who you are. Whoopi Goldberg, Alex Martin. Few entertainers have shaped American culture like Whoopi Goldberg, an EGOT winner whose career spans comedy, film, and activism. Born Karen Elaine Johnson in New York in 1955, she rose from poverty to global stardom, becoming one of the first black women to win an Academy Award for acting Ghost, 1990. Known for her candor and sharp wit, Goldberg has always championed individuality and self-acceptance. Yet even in her famously open life, she has kept one thing fiercely private, her family, especially her only daughter, Alexandria Alex Martin. Alex Martin, born in 1973 from Whoopi's first marriage to Alvin Martin, grew up both in and outside the Hollywood spotlight. She appeared in a few films, including Sister Act 2. Back in the habit, but largely pursued a quieter life later, becoming a producer and businesswoman. Despite being raised by one of the most outspoken voices in entertainment, Alex has lived with remarkable discretion. In the late 1990s, however, a rumor began circulating on a Universal Studios set. Crew members claimed to have seen Alex sharing an intimate moment with a female assistant director. The incident was never photographed, never confirmed, only whispered. At the time, gossip forums seized on the idea that Alex might be part of the LGBTQ+ community, pointing to Whoopi's long-standing advocacy for queer rights as a possible reflection of her own family's experience. But neither mother nor daughter ever addressed the speculation. Whoopi, known for dismantling stereotypes with humor, simply refused to dignify the rumor mill. Her silence wasn't evasion, it was protection. She understood better than anyone how easily women, especially black women, could be defined by their personal lives instead of their work. Today, Alex Martin is a mother of 3 and continues to maintain a low public profile. Her relationship with Whoopi is close and supportive. They've appeared together on talk shows, radiating warmth and mutual respect. Whether or not the rumors of the past held truth, both women have demonstrated that authenticity does not require explanation. For Whoopi Goldberg, who has spent her life encouraging others to live freely, the lesson seems clear. Sometimes the strongest act of love is the quiet choice to let those you cherish define themselves or not on their own terms. Tina Turner, Ronnie Turner. The late Tina Turner, born Anna Mae Bullock in 1939, was a force of nature, the queen of rock and soul, whose voice and resilience reshaped music history. Her journey from the small town of Nutbush, Tennessee, to global superstardom was one of triumph over pain. But behind the electrifying performances and iconic hits like Proud Mary and What's Love Got to Do With It, Tina also lived a quieter story, one of maternal devotion and heartbreak centered around her sons, particularly Ronnie Turner. Ronnie, born in 1960 to Tina and musician Ike Turner, inherited his parents' musical gifts, but also the burden of growing up in the shadow of their turbulent marriage. After his parents' separation, he maintained a close relationship with his mother, who supported him as he pursued both music and acting, appearing briefly in the 1993 biopic What's Love Got to Do With It? Away from fame. Ronnie lived a modest life in Los Angeles, preferring privacy to publicity. Over the years, he married French singer Afida Turner, and though their relationship was tempestuous, it reflected the same intensity that defined his parents' love stories. In 2018, paparazzi photos showing Ronnie casually walking with a male friend in West Hollywood ignited online speculation about his sexuality. Neither he nor Tina addressed the rumors, and most major outlets refused to amplify them, a rare moment of restraint in celebrity journalism. For Tina, who had endured decades of invasive media attention, protecting her son's privacy mattered more than clarifying the public's curiosity. She remained steadfastly supportive, telling a Swiss newspaper that her love for Ronnie was unconditional. Tragically, in December 2022, Ronnie passed away at age 62 due to complications of colon cancer. His death came just 4 years after the loss of his older brother Craig Turner, marking yet another heartbreak in Tina's extraordinary life. When she died in May 2023, tributes to her legacy flooded the world. But many also remembered the mother who had endured unimaginable pain with dignity. Whether or not the whispers about Ronnie's personal life were true never mattered to Tina. In her eyes, love like music needed no explanation. Her strength and the quiet loyalty she showed her son remain one of the most human chapters in her legendary story. Donna Summer, Brooklyn pseudonym. The late Donna Summer, born in Boston in 1948, earned her crown as the Queen of Disco through her unmatched voice and era-defining hits like Hot Stuff Last Dance and I Feel Love. Her music became the soundtrack of liberation in the 1970s, a time when disco culture embraced diversity, queerness, and freedom. Yet behind the glittering stage lights, Summer's home life reflected a quieter, more traditional rhythm. Her daughter, Brooklyn Sudano, born in 1981 to Donna and Italian musician Bruce Sudano, inherited her mother's beauty intelligence and creative spark, but forged her own identity on different terms. Brooklyn grew up immersed in art and music, but unlike her mother, she chose acting over singing. She made her mark in television with roles in My Wife and Kids, and taken later transitioning into writing and producing. Known for her poise and introspection, Brooklyn has always lived privately, rarely courting public attention. That privacy, however, sometimes invited speculation. In the early 2010s, while working on set in New York, entertainment blogs claimed she had developed a close friendship, possibly romantic, with a female Broadway dancer. The rumor circulated briefly but never solidified, lacking evidence and public comment. Brooklyn married producer Mike McLaughlin in 2006 and welcomed a child years later, quietly maintaining a balanced life far from tabloid noise. For Donna Summer, whose faith shaped much of her worldview, motherhood was sacred. In interviews, she often spoke of wanting her daughters to have the courage to be who they are, a statement that reflected both maternal love and the evolving values of a generation shaped by art, spirituality, and change. Whether the whispers surrounding Brooklyn held truth or not, they paled beside the enduring fact that both women built their lives on authenticity rather than image. When Donna Summer passed away in 2012, Brooklyn became one of the guardians of her legacy, producing documentaries, overseeing musical projects, and ensuring her mother's message of strength and individuality lived on. In her understated grace and refusal to engage with gossip, Brooklyn honors her mother's spirit perfectly, radiant, resilient, and defined not by rumor, but by purpose. Together, their story is not one of scandal, but of a legacy carried forward, a harmony between generations where love, art, and quiet strength always take center stage. Nichelle Nichols, Kyle Johnson. The late Nichelle Nichols, born in 1932 in Illinois, made history when she stepped onto television screens as Lieutenant Uhura in Star Trek 1966 to 1969. At a time when segregation still defined much of America, Nichols's portrayal of a confident, intelligent black woman on the bridge of the USS Enterprise shattered racial barriers and inspired generations, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who famously persuaded her to stay on the show. She was more than a performer. She was a symbol of dignity and representation. Yet beyond the applause and science fiction stardom, Nichols carried a quieter, more personal story, that of her son Kyle Johnson, a promising actor who seemed to vanish from Hollywood at the height of his potential. Kyle Johnson, born in 1951 from Nichols' first marriage, inherited both his mother's artistic instincts and her introspective nature. At just 18, he starred in Gordon Parks' 1969 classic The Learning Tree, one of the first major studio films directed by a black filmmaker. His performance was raw and powerful, marking him as a rising star. But just as his career began, Kyle disappeared from the public eye. By the early 1980s, he had left Hollywood entirely, and rumors began to circulate about why. Some claimed he was disillusioned with the industry's racism. Others whispered that he had chosen to live privately as a gay man, finding acceptance outside the glare of fame. There were no interviews, no public confirmations, only glimpses of a life lived on his own terms. A journalist once claimed to have seen Kyle in a San Francisco cafe, known for its LGBTQ+ community, sitting quietly with a male poet. Whether the encounter was fact or folklore, it fueled the mythology of a man who walked away not out of failure, but out of self-preservation. Nichelle, ever the consummate professional, never addressed the speculation. She spoke of him rarely, but with tenderness, describing her son as brilliant, sensitive, and strong. When Nichelle Nichols passed away in 2022 at the age of 89, tributes poured in from across the world, from NASA, from actors she inspired, from fans who saw her as a pioneer of equality. But one legacy remained, shrouded in mystery: the private journey of her son, whose life seemed to orbit quietly around his mother's star. Whether Kyle Johnson left Hollywood to seek freedom, love, or peace, his choice reflected the same courage that defined Nichelle's career. In silence as in space, truth often travels farther than words. Gladys Knight, Shanga Hankerson. Known as the Empress of Soul, Gladys, Knight has spent more than 6 decades blessing the world with her golden voice and unwavering grace. From her early hits with the Pips in the 1960s to her legendary solo career, Knight's music Midnight Train to Georgia. Neither one of us. Best thing that ever happened to me became the sound of resilience, faith, and love. Yet behind the stage lights and gospel-infused harmonies lies a more private story, one about a mother, her son, and the complexities of legacy, reputation, and unconditional care. Her youngest son, Shanga Hankerson, was born in 1977 from her marriage to Barry Hankerson, a prominent music executive. While his mother's life was defined by artistry, Shanga's path led him into entrepreneurship. In 1997, he founded Gladys Knight's Chicken and Waffles in Atlanta, a restaurant chain built around his mother's Southern roots and their shared love for community. For years, it flourished, a local favorite that embodied both comfort and culture. But in 2016, headlines turned harsh when Shanga was accused of tax evasion, allegedly owing over $1 million to the state of Georgia. The scandal quickly overshadowed his success, and Gladys herself had to distance her name from the business. Around the same time, quieter whispers emerged about Shanga's private life. Unconfirmed reports from Atlanta's nightlife scene suggested he was seen frequently in the company of a male stylist, leading to speculation about his sexuality. Neither Gladys nor Shanga ever addressed the rumors, and no credible evidence ever surfaced. Yet the story persisted, as so many do when fame and curiosity collide. Through it all, Gladys maintained her poise, refusing to let gossip dictate her family's story. When asked about her children, she has consistently spoken only with pride and faith, saying in one interview, "My babies are my heart. No matter what they do, they will always have my love." Today, Shunga Hankerson lives quietly, reportedly continuing to rebuild his life after the legal and financial challenges that followed the restaurant's closure. Gladys, still performing well into her 70s, remains a pillar of strength, a woman whose love, like her music, endures every test of time. Their story isn't one of scandal or shame, but of humanity, a reminder that even icons live through storms, and that a mother's love once given never fades with circumstance or rumor. In the world of fame and rhythm behind the sequins and applause, these 17 Black actresses and their children remind us that love is never simple, especially under the spotlight. From Diane Carroll's quiet fears to Gabrielle Union's open embrace, from generations that hid truth in silence to those who now walk proudly in color, their stories mirror the evolution of courage and Black excellence. Each tale blurs the line between legacy and identity, forcing us to ask, does fame demand perfection, or is authenticity the true measure of greatness? On Legends of Black Excellence, the debate begins, not ends with love.